Good evening. Welcome to Buckwheat Farms Magic Emporium and Ballroom. I guess this is it's an episode of Voluntary Living. It may turn into an episode of everything we do as magic before it's over. We'll see. I was thinking tonight about just some things I've come across and just the current state of affairs that we're in. Like the current rate of inflation right now, as of June, is 5.4%. And it was only at 1.4% in January. So that's 4% the inflation has risen. If you filled up at the gas, if you filled up your gas tank, anytime in the past couple of weeks, you've seen a drastic rise in prices. In fact, it's the highest inflationary rate since 2011. That's 3.6 then, June of 2011. And that was what was known as the Great Recession. There are a shortage of truck drivers. So goods aren't being transported across the country. The microchip issue, microchips are not being manufactured. The corporate farmers who usually pretty much sit behind a computer and type in things on a computer. As those computers go down, the machines go down. Those corporate farms are gonna have issues with production. There's the drought that's going on in the West right now. Currently, I think as of April of 2021, 10% of the global container fleet was sitting idle. So there's all kinds of issues with logistics and trying to get things to the people. And now California and St. Louis are starting to initiate mask ordinances indoors, even for people who've been vaccinated. If you haven't been vaccinated, you're not going to be able to go. So there's all kind of things that we're leading towards, and it's leaning and strongly leading towards another lockdown. And I was thinking about all of this and how people like Jack Spirko has been, and others like him have been talking about this for years and preparing and trying to get people to prepare. And I've promoted myself the permaculture, sustainable permaculture, even offering to mentor and having no acceptances of that, and in fact kind of being jeered at and called conspiracy theories or preppers. And I was thinking tonight about the story of Noah. And Noah was pretty much the ultimate prepper. In fact, I have a little set of books called the Midrash Says, and it's kind of like the backstory around from rabbinical sources about the stories in the Bible. And whether you take it as true or allegory, I really don't care, because it's both. There are flood stories that are in every different religious text. And I don't believe the story itself, the reality of the story is the key here. The key is when those who are paying attention to the times and studying the times begin to explain and warn that those who, the plight of those who don't listen. And it said that Noah worked on the ark for 120 years. So 120 years, he's hammered away at these things, and it says people come to him and they say, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm building an ark because a flood is coming," and they start jeering him and making fun of him and harassing him, and those are things that those of us who are preparing for the things to come are experiencing ourselves, and the Bible even talks about this. In Matthew, it talks about as in the days of Noah, when the second coming is coming. As in the days of Noah, and of course, they talk about the second coming of the Christ, and it's not a physical thing. Again, this is just understanding the metaphysical aspects of the Bible. It's not a physical being coming. The Christ is a consciousness that's coming. The Christ is a consciousness that's arising, a new paradigm that's arising, a new focus on our intimate and real connection to the divine and to each other, which has been separated. We've been separated from one another by the current paradigm. We've been separated from one another by things like racism and classism and the whole political spectrum. I mean, just today, I have a heated discussion with my grandson about, he says, yeah, Donald Trump and Joe Biden are both bad, but Trump was bad. And there's that whole, it just, I got a little more emotional than I could, because that whole lesser of two evils argument is so fucked, and there's no other way of putting it. It's fucked. It's a terrible argument. It's the same thing as saying, would you rather die from a gunshot wound to the head or a gunshot wound to the gut or to the heart? Both are lethal. And that whole thing there is that whole grasping of these dualities of things must be either good or bad, rather than allowing it to just be, is the paradigm shift. And that's the mindset that's coming. But it said, even as in the days of Noah, as it was in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Christ-centeredness. And that's what we're experiencing now. There's a time coming. And it said then that people were just, they were just living their lives. They were just going about in the same paradigm that they'd always been in. Now, it's kind of interesting, this kind of a side note, but the Midrash, and again, when you're talking about the Midrash, it's like the real deal behind the Bible. It's like the Bible's the for public consumption version of things, but the Midrash is like the real stuff behind it. And according to the rabbis, there was magic in the world before the flood. And I believe that's something that's going to be returned, and we're seeing it returned in things like the mindfulness and The Secret and Think and Grow Rich, and what are the others? What's one of the others that mainly The Secret and mindfulness, but again, it's the manipulation, the use of our mind to get our will, and that will be returning. But in the meantime, those who have heard the message, have heard and seen, and the jeerers, the doors are starting to close. And that's something that kind of rose up in me today as I was thinking about this. It's like, I'm done. I'm done with trying to draw people in. I'm done with trying to tell people about what's going on. This is I'm done with all of this. I'm done with trying to convince others of the fallacy of government authority. I'm done with trying to convince others of the fallacies of Western medicine. I'm done with trying to convince others of the reality of the spiritual realm. So the doors to the ark are closing. But I'm just going to tell you what you can look forward to and you can see, because the seasons are here, and knowing the seasons is the thing that we're it's just part of our makeup. It's part of my makeup. So I'm going to tell you what we're looking to see. In the next 30 to 60 days, you're going to start to see food shortages. The food can't get here already. There's fields that are going under. There's farmers are leaving the business because they can't they can't continue to do what they're doing. The drought is coming. We're already starting to see some shortages on the shelves, and you'll see even more. And then in the next 60 to 120 days, you'll start seeing things like the government and the centralized bureaucracy will be exposed for what it is. Western medicine, the lies that we've been told to perpetuate this corporate system of Western medicine, which is it's only there's no other way to put it again. It's only instigated. It's only initiated. It's only in place to keep the Masonic order, which is kind of like the time period, the era, the paradigm that we're in, to keep it in place. And all of that will be crumbling. So as people are experiencing physical shortages, everything they believed in will begin to crumble and fall. And as in the days of Noah, so will it be. People will just think it can't happen, it won't happen, everything I believed in, and all of a sudden it'll be removed. And those of us who are inside the arks that we've built will hear the knocking. the clamoring, please let us in. But I'm here to tell you there's no space anymore. The compassion is over. You had your opportunity. You will get those who remain outside of the arcs, those who remain outside of this Christ consciousness, those who remain outside of the new paradigm, who refuse, because that's the thing, it's a refusal. It's a refusal to step into the new paradigm. That's all it is. It's a refusal to believe. And those of us who believe the new paradigm, who accept the new paradigm, who are embracing the new paradigm, will be encapsulated in this spiritual and physical arc. I mean, right now, I was just looking around my yard today, and right now, if we went into another lockdown, I'm okay. I've got meat, I've got fruits and vegetables, I've got all of the resources to last myself for a little while, and to trade to get the resources that I do require. So. And it kind of runs against, what I want to be. I think I want to be to say that the end of compassion is here, but there comes a time when compassion is over, and so you will be left. Those of you who are outside will be left to the remnants. You'll be left to face the consequences of your voting, of your desire to have others inflict your will upon them at the threat of violence, which is essentially what voting is. You will be reaping the karmic consequences of your bigoted thoughts, of your misunderstanding, your blatant hatred of others simply because of their skin color or the color of the political opponent, the color of the political party that they carry. If you the red and blue, all of those divisions, all of that division that you've carried forward, all of those reasons for you to that debt-based mentality, that debt-based, which is ultimately what we'll see. The fall of money will be the beginning of it, because it's a debt-based economy. Right now, I just read something just this past week where the economy is at such a point, we're so much debt that it is absolutely impossible for the debt to be paid off. It will never be paid off, no matter how many people we enslave and how much in taxes they take. The debt is impossible to be paid off at this time, which means it has to crumble, it has to fall. And when that debt-based concept falls, it's going to be a shock to everyone because that's all they've ever known. That's all they've ever understood is how to operate within that paradigm. And the new paradigm that's rising will be a bubble. It'll be an ark. It'll be a safety place for us. And if you're outside the ark, I just got to say it. Because your path is the path that you've chosen. And you've chosen the path of centralized government. You've chosen the path of a debt-based currency. You've chosen the path of Western medicine. You've chosen those paths. So the consequences are on you. They're not on me. We've warned you. They're not on those of us who've warned you. The consequences on you. And so my blessing to you is that you experience the fullest extent of government that you long for, the fullest extent of a centralized bureaucracy that you long for, the fullest extent of westernized medicine that you long for, that all of those things that in that paradigm that you experience all of it. And in that way, and hoping that in the next iteration, you won't have to experience those things again, that you'll be willing to leave those things behind, that you'll be willing to embrace the reality of that we are all one, that we are all of one mind, that we are all of one mental construct, that we are all held within the same mind, that we are individuated expressions of a divine whole, that we are the divine, watching the divine become the divine, that you'll begin to embrace and accept who and what you truly are as we move into this new paradigm. But the only way that you can do that is that the old paradigm be left behind. You can't bring any of that in, and that's what this is. That's what this all is all about. So as you're standing out there knocking on the doors, you're standing out there screaming, "Why didn't you tell us?" And we say, "We told you, we warned you." And you say, "Well, but you didn't tell us it would be this bad." And yes, I'm telling you now, it will be this bad. You didn't tell us it would be this sudden, and I'm telling you now, it'll be this sudden. 30, 60, 90, 120 days, it's coming. And you'll say, "Oh, you didn't tell," but we told you. But you chose to embrace what you chose to embrace. And so we're leaving it to you. So lay off the anger, lay off the hurt, and start looking for the lessons you're to learn. Namaste.